happened to Don? Look, I ain't know about that.
Don called.
That's Mike.
That's Toya.
And this is Tech Beats and Bytes.
I don't know if y'all can tell. We are so excited. It's so much to talk about. We have unofficially but officially signed the White Bullet to the Tech Beats and Bytes team. We want some balance for the politics. We should let you know this while you're here, sir.
Okay.
We had 7,000 views.
Oh, my goodness.
Of our streaming content, and that was the first live stream. We've had an additional 1,200 views since then, so that video has almost had 10,000 views. It's the most viewed video of Tech Beats and Bytes.
Well, I'm glad I could be a part of history. I appreciate
Absolutely.
y'all.
Brought the information to the people.
And see, what we decided was you don't let a good thing pass. So we have automatically we didn't want nobody to try to come through and be like, Dwight, don't you want to do a pot? Dwight is already off the market. We have signed his contract. Dwight's Corner will be coming to a store near you. The shirts will be out next month. So.
And Dwight, like, you ain't say all that to me when you text me this morning.
You got to surprise him.
You free? Question mark.
Can't say no on camera. It's harder to. So, since we got Dwight's Corner, we're gonna get to that later. We'll save his part. So, hold on.
All right, start.
Gotta hit the start. AP. Start button. These things are gonna be. Oh, we have a new associate producer too, Miss Alicia Daniel.
The team's just growing. This is beautiful. It's expanding.
We wanted Knight Foundation to be able to see that we have hired and expect. That's the whole thing. They're supposed to be a catalyst of opportunities.
Absolutely.
Right.
We have taken a catalytic approach.
New jobs.
we have created new jobs and new people that have come on board.
One time for growth.
Yes.
One time for growth. We're going to attribute this to the next governor, though, not this.
Yeah. We'll put these on the books for next year.
Job growth.
So. Is your mic back working again?
I don't know. Hello, can y'all hear me?
Absolutely. I hear Toya in the microphone.
I don't know. But look, as long as the people can hear me, we good.
Can the people hear? Oh, I ain't even shared the show. I'm sorry.
That's true. And my phone is over there. Let me see.
All right.
We gonna just do it? All right.
The people, yeah.
There we go.
You just came back?
Yes, hello.
All right, so let's get into some real quick stuff. Amazon stock has plunged 7% last week after their quarterly report came out. So although they made the largest profit ever, and this was their fourth consecutive quarter and profits over $1 billion, their reported sales came in under Wall Street. I just wonder, what do the people at Wall Street predict? Like, what kind of estimates? I'd have made $1 billion and I still didn't do enough for you?
Nope. Sorry, try again.
So the company warns of a weaker than expected holiday season, so people aren't giving gifts. Or are people just being more fiscally responsible? Or have people run out of things to buy? Do we have enough stuff? What do you guys think?
Actually, I'll jump on this one. I actually think it might be an oversaturation of the market by other companies. Everyone has...
Walmart just got in.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Everyone has like an app delivery service. I was actually pulled up to a 7-Eleven, and now they're delivering.
Hold on.
Right. That part.
7-Elevens are delivering?
7-Elevens are
Using
delivering.
like an existing service?
No, they have their own build-out app. It's a 7-Eleven app that you actually get, beer and whatever else they offer up that you can have delivered to your house. This is the advertisement. I'm just letting you know that might be what's contributing to Amazon's plummeting sales is there's just other folks out there doing it.
Yeah. Wow.
And I think part of it is when they jumped in to try and do retail. They were flexing on trying to create a walk-in Amazon store. And I think that's when other retailers are like, wait a second, I think it's easier for us to set up to set up an application and start doing what y'all do than for you to all of a sudden try to mess with our brand. So I think now it's real competition. So it should be interesting over the next year. See what happens.
And I think people are giving gifts.
There we go.
But we do know that Amazon and Target and Walmart are getting into the space that Toys R Us left. So I think as the holiday season picks up, Amazon will probably see an uptick in their stock price. And we just have to pay attention. And I think, and we were actually having a conversation about that because, we grew up Toys R Us kids.
Yes.
And this is not, directly tied to Amazon, but I think that there is somewhat of a lack that will happen when you talk about kids today and parents having to buy toys and things, because there was something that would happen when you would go into the store. You would be able to easily see other products and toys that you may not have known about, but you saw it because it was on the shelf. In an app or on a website, you don't really have that same level. Yeah, they try to recommend other stuff, but it's still only limited in terms of what you can sort of see. So I think what you'll also start to see is Amazon trying to solve for that missing piece now that big stores, specialty stores like Toys R Us are gone.
By the way, you know Jeffrey's not all the way dead. You know, they
still online.
They're still online. They still exist.
I think that they should open up like holiday pop-up shops, and then they could just like close.
Oh, like
just do a season, yeah.
Like the Halloween,
like the Halloween, like just come big for Christmas and then close, and then keep it online.
They should have reduced the products, bought Starbucks in there, and made it like a little playground.
Listen, that would have been fantastic, because the only place that has that is like Jamboree.
Exactly.
And parents, we be looking for something like, I just need my son to like go wow. Let me do some stuff on my laptop, and he can just play and like do his thing.
They could have reduced the amount of toys. You don't need all that inventory because, like you said, they're making the deliveries and stuff. So you go ahead and you take on the Amazon model. You see something you want for the kids get to play with it a little bit, but you don't have to buy it for them that very moment. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you buy it gets shipped to your house within 2 days. Now you got a whole nother surprise for your kids.
Yeah, or even like a similar concept is like PetSmart, where they have like and not to compare kids to animals, but it's a similar concept.
But in theory.
Right. Because you have like dog training and they can kind of come and play, and then you have like all the other stuff that is around the lifestyle of a dog. So if they had taken a similar model, that could have been kind of cool.
It makes sense. They still have the retail footprint. I mean, those.
Oh, absolutely.
So those buildings can be converted into something. You know?
Yeah.
And
look, man, because all of them are still there. Food trucks, some coffee. Oh. Actually, with parents throwing some beer and wine, like
right,
a whole experience.
Right, Chuck E. Cheese, but not like on the level of Chuck E. Cheese. That place is crazy.
Why does everybody remember Chuck E. Cheese, but don't nobody remember Showbiz?
I remember Showbiz. Showbiz was the move.
The Showbiz was the business.
Showbiz was playing Earth, Wind, and Fire.
And Chucky just played the guitar for the bear.
Right.
The bear was the dude.
And don't forget the gorilla.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That was true.
Showbiz Pizza Place. Oh, the birthdays I had. And shout out to Riverboat Playhouse for
right.
everyone here.
That's what I was about to say.
The Miami-Dade area.
Absolutely.
It was the most greatest / racist place that you could ever.
But you were there though.
But you were there every weekend.
You were there.
Because the official name was Mark Twain's Riverboat Playhouse. And so Mark Twain, animatronic Mark Twain came out and told you stories. Nothing problematic about that at all.
But it worked out.
It did.
100%.
Absolutely.
All right, so go with the next one.
Next up. So, lots to talk about this. We're talking about the Google walkout today due to sexual misconduct. So last week, Google's exec in charge of was charged with personnel disclosed that Google had fired 48 employees, including 13 senior managers for sexual harassment in recent years. Apparently, employees at Google and parent company Alphabet still don't think enough is being done about sexual misconduct. So this morning, Google staff in protest began walking out at 11 a.m. So you saw Tokyo, Singapore, London, Dublin, and then of course it just continued to go as 11 o'clock hit. So they weren't looking to do a mass walkout at one time. It was sort of like when 11 o'clock rolled around in their cities, they started to walk out. So their demands an end to forced arbitration and harassment and discrimination cases, commitment to end pay and opportunity inequity, publicly disclosed sexual harassment transparency report, a clear, uniform, globally inclusive process for reporting sexual misconduct, and elevate the Chief Diversity Officer to answer directly to the CEO and make recommendations directly to the Board of Directors. So again, this is just the continuation. We've talked a bit about on the show before about the whole Me Too movement and a lot of sort of the women and men who are going through, because it happens on both sides, right? It's not just women get sexually harassed, it happens to men as well. So we're just starting to see a lot of reckoning coming, and sort of behavior is not really allowed anymore in this particular space.
Right, and it shouldn't be. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a long time coming. It should have been rectified a long time ago in terms of giving women, and genders equal access to the workplace and levels of fair treatment and equitable treatment. And I want to make sure people understand the difference between equality and equity, and that is that you from an equity standpoint, you need to make up for the lack of investment in making sure that you had a safe work environment. And so what's happening is powerful. But I also want to caution people that not to get caught up in kind of like the backlash that you start to see developing, that we saw during the Kavanaugh hearings, where people were sitting there saying, well, this wasn't a credible, she wasn't credible with her presentation, and, jamming up people based on saying, assuming false accusations. The reality is that the behaviors that have persisted for decades in these work environments, anyone who's watched Mad Men can attribute that, that 40s, 50s mentality of how you treat people in the workplace should have been erratic, shouldn't have never been there. And the fact that we're at a point now where older men are somehow uncomfortable at the fact that they now have to respect
it's like,
people's bodies, get over it. It should have been fixed a long time ago.
You know how the Confederacy law felt about letting go of slaves. So, the demands that they're talking about.
Right.
At the end of forced arbitration and harassment and discrimination cases, commitment to end pay and opportunity inequity, publicly disclosed sexual harassment transparency report, put them on blast.
Hey.
That's serious. A clear, uniform, globally inclusive process for reporting sexual misconduct safely and anonymously. That's going to be big. So this is the one that stood out to me. Elevate the chief diversity officer to answer directly to the CEO and make recommendations directly to the board of directors. Also appoint an employee rep to the board of directors. Are they going to give a chief diversity officer that much power?
They should.
Right.
My question was,
that's
are they
going to?
Technically that should be happening kind of already. Like when you think about the C-suite, that's how the C-suite should work. Like I don't understand why that wasn't there already.
We talked about it plenty time on this show that chief diversity officers are just kind of there for show. They go to speaking engagements, they do the tours, they give out the swag, they shake hands, and they go home.
Yeah.
So it's funny you mention that. So my sister was in the nonprofit world for a long time, and she tried to avoid being a D&I chief for years because they would all sit at one table whenever they go to these conferences, and there would all be women of color in this space because, to your point, it would be like, here's this diverse person that we have at our company that holds no power. But to Toya's point, they should, and I think this is if it does happen, right? That they do give that much credence to the person in that position, it's really going to send ripples through and shockwaves through the business world, because at that moment, what you're ultimately going to see is people viewing that in a positive way, and it's going to be reflected in their stock, the stock value.
So we have some breaking news. I'm going to go ahead and jump to.
Oh, is this from the AP?
No, it's not. It's not from the AP.
Oh, okay.
But
just checking.
We now have avid listeners that they'll send us information as the show is going on. So it's becoming very intriguing. It's good to know that people are watching. Because my phone now blows up at 7 o'clock with like what's been happening for the day. I'm like, well, you talk to me all day. Breaking news: Andrew Gillum's longtime employer sponsored an anti-Israel event with a front group of Palestinian terrorist organization. Gillum is again on defense over his ties to an anti-Semitic groups. Read more. Reply stop to subscribe, and then it has FKQ.
Wait, so what website is this reporting?
Yeah, what bootleg?
No, this is the thing.
Blogger.
It's not even that. They're actually breaking the law. These are text messages that are going to people's phones.
Oh.
Wow. Okay.
So this is what I want to say. Thank you, Caroline, for this information. It must be real hard for them in these streets that they're literally trying to play off of anything negative in the news and trying to find a way to tie him to it, and that's like not even in his wheelhouse.
Right.
So, Dwight, I was trying to push this off at least to the 20-minute mark, but let's just go ahead and get into Dwight's corner. Why don't you share with the people some of the things that's going on with Trump, DeSantis, the 14th Amendment? Can we just get into some of the things that's happening right now?
Yeah, because it's crazy, right? So just the other night, number 45, because I still can't call him by its official title.
I can't even give him number 45. It's too close to 44.
Right. But Trump,
the guy after.
Trump basically got on TV and said that he wants to end birthright citizenship. Mm-hmm. And for people who don't know what birthright citizenship means, it literally is the 14th Amendment, right? And that 14th Amendment grants citizenship to those born in the United States. It's been untouched since the 1800s when it was passed, and of course it was one of the Reconstruction era, post-slavery amendments that followed suit. So the 13th abolished slavery, the 14th granted citizenship to those who were here in the country, and then the 15th granted black men the right to vote. And it's been untouched because people aren't crazy enough to touch those amendments, At least we thought they weren't.
Right, until today.
But then I had an aha moment shortly after watching this interview because I'm like, oh, that can't happen. It's a constitutional amendment. But then I realized how the interpretation of the Constitution works and whose job it is to interpret our Constitution. That is the job of the Supreme Court.
And the 14th Amendment, as we know, was added in 1868.
Yes.
But this is my question I want to know. Will he apply this to his own kids? That would. I'm just wondering if.
Well, I mean, I know we've sort of made light of that, but the reality is that he can't, right? I mean, because what he's talking about specifically is children born in the United States where both parents are non-citizens.
Right, we're immigrants.
In terms of his kids, at least as far as we know, they're all his, and therefore would be able to stay. But I mean, this is dangerous territory because what he's doing in essence, and this is why people really have to pay attention. If he were to write an executive order, it would kind of be talked about, thrown out, but it would have to go through a legal analysis. Okay. And the challenge is that his lawyers could then argue it all the way up to the Supreme Court, where they just appointed a new Supreme Court justice, who's number 5 and who's that 5th out of 9 that is the tiebreaker, right? And so what's dangerous about this kind of conversation is you're literally talking about the reinterpretation of a constitutional amendment. Now, what ramifications does that have? Now, think about what he said about the press. The question is, and he's flirted with the idea, can I lock up the press like they do in other countries? Can I call treason on these folks when they say these things that I don't like
about him,
right? And the question is, if I now issue an executive order there and I run it up the flagpole to the Supreme Court, is this person who I pushed to get on the bench going to do what's right by the law of the land, or is he going to remember who put him there, right? And I'm not leaving it all on Kavanaugh. I'm saying there are other justices there as well, Gorsuch and Roberts and all these other folks. But I need the Supreme Court to understand that that's what's happening, because they're going to look at it from, it's just legal minutia. No, this dude is literally trying to make himself a tyrant because that's who he likes to look at. That he talks about.
He's trying to run the country as if he's a CEO.
Not as a CEO, as a totalitarian dictator. He wanted a military parade, and they told him no, and he got mad.
Right, he was like, they did it.
Who? Yeah, it's like I was watching TV. Korea did a military. I want a military parade. He's sitting there talking about, I know we shouldn't have a king, but if we did have a king, and then does these little pregnant pauses, it's not jokes for him. In his mind, he'd like to be able to just point his finger.
And I think that's
issue
what's
a death warrant
most dangerous
to folks.
about him is that people take him for a joke. Right. So people are still like, don't ignore that. No, that's what happened with the election. And here we are. And he's continuing to have this Joker-esque approach to whenever he does press conferences or has different issues, and people continue to like throw it away. No, you have to pay attention.
I mean, he just sent
Read between the lines.
15,000 troops. He's talking about sending 15,000 troops down to the border. Now, mind you, there's literal laws that prevent that from happening. Like, you're talking about almost the invasion of a country. You got to remember, if you send our troops down to the border, if they step over the border, that is considered an invasion. That's why we put parameters, law enforcement, and things in the way, and he doesn't understand that.
He doesn't understand
anything.
Anything for that. All right, just to get off of him, but to stay on the bite.
Yeah.
It's painful talking about him.
Yeah, I mean, he's so problematic.
Megyn Kelly and NBC.
And she's part of the reason why he's problematic.
Right.
She gives that man a voice.
The Megyn Kelly Today Show was canceled by NBC last Friday as a result of the backlash that erupted after Megyn Kelly, by the way, who was born in 1970, made the following statement. What is racist? You do get in trouble if you are a white person who puts on a black face for Halloween, or a black person who puts on a white face for Halloween. Back when I was a kid, that was okay, just as long as you were dressing as a character.
Where does she live, and when was that okay? I don't know when that was.
I just
okay.
want to know which part. I don't even want to know the state. I actually want to know the latitude and longitude.
I mean, if she was, so it was never okay, but if she was in like the minstrel show time.
In her circle, it was okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So we want to know the gated community and or cul-de-sac.
When you're around racists, that makes it okay.
Right.
And I'm sorry, but I don't even know what a black person in white face looks like. I've never seen
You see them in
that.
church. They're mimes.
Right, I was going to say.
They're doing it for the Lord.
Praise
They're
dancing.
doing it for the Lord.
That's the only time I can think of.
But they're not here to make fun of another another group of people.
Right, no.
That's it. Never would have made
Okay,
it.
so
Right.
I have to ask these questions.
So we had a question from the audience. What about
Yes.
white chicks?
What about white chicks? Is that?
I mean, that was.
I mean, is that where we're at? What about Soul Man? The movie.
Right.
The movie back in the 80s.
I'm
right?
going to move on. So who's to blame, Megyn Kelly or NBC?
So I was listening to another radio show today, and they were actually talking about this whole situation. And they were just talking about how interesting it is that, one, she never really had great ratings, and she never did anything for NBC, but was able to have 2 seasons. Now, had someone else, like Tamron Hall, who they kicked off NBC, had been in the same situation, she would not have been there as long. And then the fact
Jaleel White?
Right. The fact that she was able to have the show that long, did not really bring anything to the network, and then continued to kind of like spew kind of really questionable items. And this was like the most questionable thing that she said, but she definitely still brought a lot of that sort of right-wing-ish
Did we ever have hope
conversations.
that a Fox News host could transfer over to the mainstream world?
Well, let's be clear. Don't get it twisted. The reason NBC went after her, the reason NBC paid her the money is because Fox has been killing the ratings. So they wanted somebody. They wanted to bring part of that audience over to NBC. Mm-hmm. And with that came all of the baggage that came with it. And
speaking of baggage, sir, let's just give a few instances of her history at Fox.
Break it down. Give her some of her quotables.
Her show used a caption referring to Michelle Obama as Obama's baby mama. Megyn defended this as a joke. Now, this is the part I don't get. We can't talk about Trump's wife, although she has those pictures out there. And y'all mad at T.I. for depicting what she actually did in real life.
Right.
In my mind, T.I. was just reliving history in a video. He was giving historical facts in an artistic form of a video. Michelle Obama ain't never been his baby. That's always been the love of his life.
Right.
The way that man talks about that woman.
See, the way their relationship worked, folks, is they got married and had children after that.
Yeah.
That negates
that whole thing Trump wouldn't know about. Later, she said Jesus was white, Santa is white.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
When a Texas police officer tackled and dragged and pinned a 15-year-old bathing suit wearing Miss Becton, to the ground. Kelly said the teenager was no saint.
Because she knew her personally. Like,
she lived in the same cul-de-sac where it's okay to do black.
exactly.
That latitude, longitude. According to Kelly, Sandra Bland would be alive if she had just complied with police orders.
Right.
When the DOJ report finding racial bias in the police department at Ferguson, I got a whole weekend that I had to deal with people about the racism in the police department.
That's a whole nother show.
Yeah. Her response was, there are very few companies in America where you won't find racist emails.
Including NBC, clearly. So I'm glad she's gone.
When Michelle Obama spoke about the toll of discrimination against black people, Kelly said the speech played into a culture of victimization, which she calls the cupcake nation. So basically, black people don't deal with racism and haven't dealt with it in America is what Megan Kelly is trying to tell y'all.
Powder puff. Y'all soft.
Snowflake.
Yeah, and they start saying things like, don't call the PC police. Like, here's the thing about political correctness that people don't get. Political correctness is supposed to be you being courteous to another person. Like, keep your racist, bigoted thoughts to yourself and go on about your business. Now they're like, well, we should be more expressive. And the reason they like this is because people they're speaking truth to power. And it's just like,
no.
Try again. Because my thing is, it doesn't cut both ways. Like, that's my biggest thing. It's like, you know, if we were going around calling folks for what they were, I think the first people that would be sensitive would be white America, right? Like, if people were just speaking how they felt.
Right.
So I think you hear certain things, and this reminds me close to what the Roseanne Barr scandal.
I was going to say the same thing. Yep.
You knew what Roseanne Barr is. We know her racial history, but, like, I can't say that I didn't grow up as a kid watching Roseanne.
Yeah, but that was before social media, before we knew who she was. Like, you didn't know Roseanne was Roseanne. Like, today Roseanne. Right. You didn't know that about her.
Because you're it's like Roseanne in Living Color. Actually, the part that hurts me the most about Fox News, Fox was like that station.
Yeah. You'd be like, how?
It was Martin in Living Color. Like, Fox was the go-to station for black people. Like, Fox was doing stuff that BET wasn't doing.
Exactly.
But then y'all have Fox News. Like,
then
I don't
came
get
Rupert
it.
Murdoch.
Right. But I think Fox did what a lot of.
No, Fox was originally owned by a black man, right?
No, BET was really owned by a black man.
It was started by a black man. We got to look that up.
We could check that really quick. But I was going to say that Fox did what a lot of networks and businesses do. They pander to the black audience, get everybody hyped, build it up, and then it's like, oh, thank y'all for like making us somebody. Right. Now we're going to go do what we really want to do.
Lead them across the bridge and then burn the bridge.
I'm glad you brought that up, because Thursday night on Fox for Black America became the new thing post Cosby.
Yes.
Like, after the Cosby Show and A Different World went off in the early 90s, people were in a lull. It just so happened that a guy named Martin Lawrence gets a show in 92, followed that with Living Single, followed that with New York Undercover.
Yep.
And that literally became the new night. And
Absolutely.
so they were running neck and neck with NBC, who brought on Seinfeld and Friends and all those, but it was literally a competing demographics thing. It was one group of folks watching NBC on Thursdays and a whole slew of other folks who dedicate themselves to. So I don't know when they lost their way or why they lost their way, but they need to get back to their old ways of just recognizing.
I don't even know if that's possible. I would expect that to come
dumb.
through. The only person I think that's going to even have the chance of giving us that will be Netflix. I think, and I don't even know if Netflix.
But they just canceled Luke Cage, though, man.
Well, so there's a thing about that though. They didn't cancel Luke Cage because of that.
Okay.
Disney is buying back all their shows.
Disney
is about to get their own
buy
streaming.
back Marvel.
So Marvel, your Pixar's, all that stuff, all the stuff that we like that Disney owns, Disney gonna have their own streaming service. And it's not just a streaming channel. They about to have their own Netflix.
Yeah,
pretty much.
yeah. I know they mentioned that, but that makes sense.
But I think that's why Netflix was like, yeah, we got $8 billion or however much money they put into original content, because they knew sooner or later their contract was going to wear out, and it was about, so people, if you're out there and you got original content, like us, Netflix. I know y'all been watching us. If you got original content, because they're doing shows, they're doing talk shows, they're doing daily stuff. David Letterman's show was doing real good on there. My next guest needs no introduction. Like, there's certain things that's coming out that has more of an actual weekly format. You can binge watch them after they've come out, but they've started releasing stuff on a weekly basis. So they're picking up on some network antics. So I think some of these other places are like, okay, y'all cross the lines. Y'all not just running reruns of our old movies that we didn't already release. Y'all are actually becoming competitors where you have a whole generation that's going to be able to survive and just live off of Netflix.
Well, I appreciate that. Anyone out there who wants to let me hold their Netflix password, you can slide that in the DMs because I'm still not on it.
So I want to go back, since we're in the world of tech. This was personally a big thing for me because we've had this conversation with, speaking of curator, we talked about how we've had conversations of how I felt the art world was going to go. So we're now talking about art automation. Last Friday, Christie's, one of the two biggest auction houses, sold their first artificial intelligence artwork for $432,000, which they estimated that this piece was going to sell for anywhere $7,000 to $10,000. So what I want you to understand when I say art automation and artificial intelligence, the image was created by 3 25-year-old students calling themselves Obvious, using a machine learning algorithm that scanned historical artwork, and then it created a piece of art. 3 students, also known as Obvious, have admitted they used code from an artificial intelligent artist, which this code was put on an open source license, so they actually owe the person that made the code no money.
Wow.
So I know Trina Slade Burks in West Palm Beach watches the show a lot, and the first thing that made me think of, if we now have computers that can create art that's worth over $250,000, what does that actually say about the value of art? And I'm saying this as an artist, and it's hard sometimes to be an artist but to totally understand business and tech, because I'm left and right brain. I'm not just that passionate artist. So what does this mean for the true value of art? What does this actually say about Christie's and the people that collect art? Now, a part of me is like, maybe it is worth that much because it's the first piece of art, in theory, created by artificial intelligence. But what does this also do for the starving artist when a computer now can outpaint you?
But I don't know if the computer can outpaint you, because I think that there's still a human element to the creation process.
I'm only saying outpaint you because it comes down to money when it comes to the basis of survival.
Right.
Because when do we get to a point where, how do you now know whether this piece of art is going to be? Because if you think about artificial intelligence,
I mean, but that's just like the
you're
Instagram model.
The colors. No,
I'm saying the Instagram model that was actually 3D designed. Artificial.
Oh, right.
Right, so you have where technology is allowing art to now mimic real life, which is very similar to what you're talking about with the AI. Because it's technology, it can actually mimic the sort of expression of what you would expect to get from a person, but it's coming from technology. So I think that there's still space for both to exist. I don't necessarily.
Yeah, I would piggyback to just simply say part of why art sells at a higher clip is oftentimes when the artist has died. Because on top of that, you're getting the story, right? Like, is Picasso...
Or the collection has been bought up, and then families rule the collection, and they drive up the value, which is just the oldest form of cryptocurrency and kind of illegal if you think about it. But
I don't deny that, but I mean, when you take a Pablo Picasso, right? Like, everyone can talk about his art, but it's like the story behind Picasso, or the story behind Van Gogh, or the story behind these artists that oftentimes enhances the price. Like what just happened with... old boy who's picture self-destructed.
With the...
Banksy.
Yeah. Banksy. Yeah, so, the fact that someone...
But see, the people don't know the other part of that story, though. He told them, don't sell this piece.
Right.
It was a donated piece. And people's greed led them to that, but now the piece is probably worth twice for the value.
Oh, yeah, no, that's just
it. It worked out.
They pulled it off the wall before it completely shredded, but I mean...
I hope they should have left it in the exact same frame with the pieces hanging and everything. And then you should have reframed the whole thing. I hope that's what they did.
It's a moment in history.
You put it in a box by itself, and the value increases. But I mean, it's that kind of stuff, right? Like so a dude like Banksy, because how much did that sell for? I think it was over $1 million, right? I know.
I think it was 2 to 4 million.
I know we talked
Yeah.
about it because we talked about it.
Yeah, I
as a
know.
topic.
So we're talking 7 figures versus this virtual piece, which you
Still
pointed
6
out.
figures.
6 figures, but it was the first. So now, if someone comes along and you find out that this thing's been painted by artificial intelligence, does it have the same value as?
I'm just
as
wondering
the
will all
individual piece?
artists even be that open to admit that their pieces are being created. That's where I was going with it. Like, what happens now if they get these codes, the pieces are created, and they just come back and they paint on top of it?
But I think that that's then where you'll start to see other innovation come in, where people are like, we need to validate your work. Like, we need to code check you almost.
Yeah.
Well,
Like-
how? So think about it. I get it printed on canvas, right? Then I go back on the canvas, and I paint on top of the canvas.
But it could be like a show your work. You know what I'm saying? Like, there could eventually become a way to then now either scan
I
it
can't-
to
I
see
can't
if there was
paint in
something
front of people.
behind
I
it.
get nervous. I just see
Well,
a
we
whole...
ain't buying your work then.
What I do think
We
is
need to see a in motion video of you doing your work. I don't know, but there has to be some checks and balances.
yeah, I mean, when you think about artists in terms of a purity test, they are committed to kind of their craft, right? If you're talking about those who now come in and say, well, I've never had the ability to do art, and now this gives me
Right. I'm painting by numbers.
Yeah, I get a chance to come in and see if I can get in the game just off of what I'm thinking.
So to go back to the Fox thing, so we got to have a conversation. Although this came out on Good Music, it would make sense why Nas is talking out the side of his neck. By the way, that's where that whole situation with Fox was started by a black man. So Fox Film Corporation was founded by William Fox, a Hungarian-American, in 1915.
Okay.
The 20th Century Fox has been a TV production since the 50s, but the Fox Network's foundations were laid in March 1985 through News Corporation owned by Rupert Murdoch. The $225 million purchase of 50% of the interest in TCF Holdings, the parent company of 20th Century Fox Film Studios. So Nas, we need you on the show, bro. We want to know why did you decide to drop those lyrics? I mean, I know Kanye had. First of all, I think every artist, although I did enjoy Tiana Taylor's album, I thought it was actually a pretty dope album.
Oh yeah, I haven't heard it.
It was all right. I think every artist that did a album with Kanye this summer,
Right.
it
The
should
summer
get an
release.
asterisk by it, and we just excuse it, and you just come out with another album. Like Pusha T, release another one.
Kanye
Nas,
said he was
release
being
another one.
used, man. Come on now.
Bro, I don't even know how we lost that in the notes, but like, what's going on with y'all boy? Like, this is when that point where you just have to put it on somebody else. This got to be y'all boy.
Listen,
What's going?
No,
what's
that's
going-
your boy.
What's going on with y'all mans and them? What is going on with Kanye?
I don't know. Don't we know somebody that know him personally?
I
Need to have him on the show. Hey, so what's
Who do
going
we
on with
know
your
that
boy?
no,
knows
here's the
Kanye?
thing. Kanye clearly ain't got no real friends. So whoever that is coming on the show talking about Kanye.
Right, they
ain't
know
been-
him professionally,
ain't been helping him.
not
You know what I mean?
personally.
Can we still blame the Kardashians for this?
Absolutely.
Everybody that's been through that household.
Listen,
Bruce became a woman,
Shout out to
and
Katie.
now he said he don't know if he want to be a woman no more.
That's it.
And
Uh-oh.
Bruce walked away. Actually, no, Bruce denounced Trump before Kanye did.
It's true. It's true.
look, we
Lamar
done,
Odom ain't never been the same. That was one of the strongest 6 men in the NBA. Like,
that house
I've
is a
never seen
black
somebody
hole.
dwindle that fast.
Yeah,
Where is Tristan Walker these days? Is he even playing basketball?
Listen, he might be in Cleveland. We don't know because
Don't nobody watch.
Nobody
those
go-
tickets as
$4
News pointed
super
out,
cheap.
$2.
You can get Cleveland tickets for $2.
$2.
Cleveland got it for $2.
I think courtside is what 16 or something like that.
Yeah, $2.
Yeah.
for the-
Oh, I would buy the tickets when the Lakers come there and play.
That's what everybody's saying. We should just go to Cleveland and watch the good games. Like, I don't know.
$2.
I don't know.
I mean,
Just buy all the tickets for the season.
listen, the struggle is real, but yeah. So here's the thing.
Do we blame the Kardashians for Kanye?
Well, no, PSA on the notion of mental health. I think we can all agree Kanye has issues unresolved. I'm not attributing them to anything. I know they always talk about his mom and
Right.
his death. All I know is mental health is real. I mean, mental disease is real, and the need for mental health therapy, the need for those things, is something that Kanye and his ego won't allow him to participate in. That's all I'm saying is, like, brother, if you need help, go get some help from somebody who's not deep in your pockets or somebody who's not
Right.
trying to,
I
shine for
wonder
your
did
image.
Jay-Z offer him that help. Dante, I think in post-production, our lower thirds, we should have the 1-800 number. for mental health. We need to do at least. I mean, even
No,
the
for
Love and
real.
Hip Hops, they do that
For
kind
real.
of stuff.
For real.
Let's just pick one of
Yeah.
the organizations we support, and during this segment, because we're not making fun of Kanye, but I am worried about the household and the consistency of the get out situations that
Right.
happen in the Kardashian household.
Well,
I am worried
that
about
that inherently is a problem, but I think a lot of it is tied to the fact that the Kardashians there's no talent on their spectrum in terms of like something they've done. Like we just talked about artistry. What I'm saying is like, what have the
They've
Kardashians put out
I don't know. I don't know if people
that makes them
realize
famous?
your baby doesn't genetically get the modifications that you got during plastic surgery.
Right.
So
You mean they don't go to my DNA?
Yes.
It's only on the
I'm just saying,
surface?
whatever the scalpel did does
Right.
not apply to them
The
chromosomes.
injections and whatnot.
Yeah,
no.
so the way your wife looks now, that doesn't transfer to your child. If you couldn't, this is what I always wonder if we're talking about mental wellness and the way people treat their children and the bullying and everything else. If your wife couldn't accept herself in her natural being, how are you going to manage that through your own daughter?
And that's
Real
going to be a challenge.
conversation.
But what I would say is when you think about Kim Kardashian, part of the problem is that she only maintains her notoriety through being seen.
And
So
half
it's
naked.
like so you can't then impress upon your husband or anyone close to you a mental stability, because it's like you always have to be on
Right.
the camera.
Social validation is essential
So
for
do
them.
do we at least finally give her mom credit for being a pimp? Like her mom at least has some talent. Her mom is. A
Oh, of
hustler.
course. Listen,
So
her
we
mom
give
is
her-
like the Joe Jackson for their family. Like, she like, this what y'all gonna do.
Kris Jenner
To
is
date.
the ultimate hustler. Well, what I'm saying is like to do
100%.
that to your family. Here's the thing with Joe Jackson, not to applaud Joe for anything, because abuse is wrong.
Absolutely.
But
There goes
his
another
kids
lower third we got to run.
his kids had talent.
Yeah,
They
Yeah.
could sing.
raw talent.
Listen, all the way
the raw
down.
tapes of Michael and Janet
Tito
making
could
music.
play a guitar. You put Tito's guitar skills up against anybody, and guess what? You're gonna get a butt whooping. But
Janet was playing the little cymbals in the background when Michael was making
Yeah.
his demo tapes.
But to
Like,
be a parent like that and to harness your kids' talent and to channel it, that takes like for real dedication, skill, and you need to know how to navigate the industry. That's not an easy industry to get in and to be successful in.
But for your daughter to generate a sex tape, and you say to yourself,
You
after
don't
you see how
capitalize
many
on that.
hits it gets on the internet, to be like, well, we should market this.
Right. How can we
That-
spend this?
I think
I mean, but that's alchemy, right?
hashtag not good parenting.
She was doing a little alchemy. We gonna turn this lemon into lemonade. We gonna go
I
ahead
just don't
and
see how you don't end up doing that to your own children. I don't care how much money. I think it becomes
And
embedded.
that's the fear.
Right.
But that's the challenge with why I think Kanye needs to get this now, because he has 3 young children who want to see their dad. He's got a skill set that will allow him to produce music indefinitely. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, that talent is there. And what I don't want to see is a complete self-destruction, because at the end of the day, that's going to carry you through. At some point, Kim Kardashian will turn 45, 50, 60 years old and will not be
Kim K.
Kim K.
She will not be able to move because of the amount of plastic surgery. She gonna be like those people when you go to Boca in Miami when they have to turn to say hey to somebody. They got to turn their whole body because they can't turn their neck.
Hey, and that's a danger. So what I'm saying is, get the help now, so that you can be there for your children. Get the help now,
100%.
so that because at the end of the day, and she's holding on. She's trying to stack as many chips as she can while she can. I get that. She's trying to enhance herself as much as she can, but eventually that bad boy is going to run its course. And all I'm saying
then
is
what?
for those children, because
idea.
if you expect them to grow and turn into Kylie or do whatever and kind of keep that legacy going, that's harmful. Like, what if
That's a lot of pressure.
Northwest doesn't want
lot
to
of pressure.
doesn't want to be that? You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Like, maybe she doesn't want to date a random bootleg rapper.
Right. She's like, no, I
Or
really
start
want
a-
to just be a doctor,
Yeah,
and I want
like,
to.
I'd rather just be regular.
My husband could like own a cleaners. Like, maybe she want to be real.
right? You know, what
regular
I'm saying?
with
Like, can I just be like the mystery Trump daughter that no one ever sees, who's just out there living her regular life?
Oh, Tiffany, the one. Oh yeah, the one that she was on the stage one time, right?
One time.
She probably be like, I ain't with this dad. Like, I'm not here for it.
So speaking of Trump and freedom of speech, the Gab social media platform that the guy from Florida.
Florida man strikes again. Go ahead.
Look, I'm gonna just say this on TV now. Lord, please bless us with Tuesday headlines that's positive for Florida. I can't say. I just knew when it happened, it had to be a man from Florida. And then it just got worse when it was like, packages ran through Opelika.
Wow.
Like,
yeah.
why?
Right. Literally right here, backyard.
So, Robert Bowers, the man accused of killing 11 people in Pittsburgh synagogue last week, also had a Gab account. So as of this morning, Gab is still offline. They're currently trying to find a hosting platform. So where do we draw the line between hate groups, technology, freedom of speech?
Yeah.
Like, I know right now, if HostGator tell me they picked them up, all of our accounts, we going to be offline too, because I'll be canceling that very day. So, but where did we know where they used to do it. They used to rally around, churches and poles and burning flags. So it's not like hate is new.
Absolutely not.
But it's definitely being magnified through technology. And that's why we've said this many times on the show before. People don't realize how much technology ties into everyday life these days. Because now this message is propaganda used to take work. Like if you look at some of the most artistic posters were propaganda posters. And the element of design, and they talked about how the design psychologically made you feel a certain way. The usage of colors, a lot of red and black, things of that nature, the bold fonts, the jagged edges of the font used and everything like that. They're actually some very nice graphically designed posters. But now you don't even have to go through all that.
No.
It's just characters on the screen. Like, how do we control this without killing freedom of speech?
Well, here's the thing. I'm all for an open internet, but I'm also recognizing, let's take a step back to back when Big Tobacco used to run things, right? So when TV first started, a lot of folks don't know this. If you look at old black and white movies and pictures, everyone was smoking cigarettes.
Everybody.
Because it was, Marlboro, whoever would sponsor these things. Subsequently, the federal government steps in and says, y'all can't do that. You can't promote that. Kids are watching. These are kinds of things. And the companies then have to do what they have to do. So I say that to say that if we recognize that the limitations on freedom of speech are you can't yell fire in a theater type of thing, like you can't cause harm,
right?
Then why is it, like we know that in the public space, right? So like people can get arrested for saying things that are detrimental, dangerous, so forth.
Yeah.
So why all of a sudden is that not applicable on the internet in terms of things that get released? Like if you were basically putting out the design or giving people the blueprint on how to take people down or murder people, or you're implying that certain people need to be killed or whatever the case may be,
right?
Yeah, you regulate that. And all I'm saying is, I'm not saying that the government should do that. I'm saying companies should govern themselves, but in the occurrences that they don't, take that thing to court and regulate it the same way we've regulated industries for decades.
So before, you want to go ahead and do In These Streets real quick?
We sure can.
And then we'll do Dwight's Corner, and then we'll close out with today's ignorance.
I get two corners today.
Because it's just so many topics.
It's a lot to get through.
Politics is everything today.
No doubt.
So we're going to take it on a little bit of a lighter note within these streets this week. So holiday season is in full swing. Everybody, if you watch the Hallmark Channel, I don't, but my mom does. They have been running their holiday season Christmas movie marathon. You're seeing all the major retailers announcing their Black Friday deals and their holiday hours. And of course, Starbucks is in the headlines again about their holiday cups and seasonal drinks, which will be kicking off tomorrow. So on Friday, Starbucks will kick off the holiday season with their seasonal drinks like the peppermint mocha, festive decor, and of course their iconic red cups. So in the past, Starbucks has received some feedback on their red cups because people were like, "Oh, you trying to take Christmas out of Christmas? Where's the Christmas festivities on your cups?" So what they did this year, they actually came out with 4 different designs. So you'll see they have one that's like a minimalist red stripe for those who just want to keep it simple, want a little peppermint action. They have holly leaves, which are intended to mimic coffee cherries. For those who are into fashion, you get you a red houndstooth cup, or you can get some green stars. And also, the chain will be giving away free reusable red cups to customers who order a seasonal beverage tomorrow. So y'all can go ahead and get you a Starbucks and get you a free red cup. So
last time I went to Starbucks, I sat outside and had my meeting outside the whole time, waiting to see if they was gonna say something about my meeting. I still don't do Starbucks.
Right.
I just go straight in and use the bathroom without even asking. That's what I do.
I still don't do Starbucks. I mean, they can have it. I mean, that's great.
Right.
I think it's great. I think people should realize they're truly addicted to Starbucks, but that's great.
Yeah.
That's all.
So that's the thing. So wanted to see just kind of how people felt about it, especially because one, how Starbucks has been in the news. Is this going to be positive PR for them because of this holiday season? You know, people get all warm and fuzzy when it comes to the season.
I don't know. Somebody in my household was talking about turning on lights yesterday. After I was like, the lights don't go on to December 1st.
Right. I'm like, no, y'all don't just gonna skip November.
House rules. Lights go on December 1st. End of discussion. It's just not happening.
What is it? Someone's going to pitch the war on Christmas mantra, you know, because the fact that the Cubs don't say Christmas, someone's going to be mad, and Fox News is going to cover it, and people are going to talk about it. And at the end of the day, it's going to drive up Starbucks sales, because I foresee Starbucks going the way of Nike and just being like, I'll take the controversy, you know what I'm saying, and just keep it moving. And
because it's not like they ain't like they talking.
They're
about
not missing a beat.
Oh yeah,
they're not missing a beat.
They're not gonna hurt. You still gonna go, you know what I mean? And so I would definitely, I don't think Starbucks is worried. I think they did it intentionally. I think they're coming with the 4 cups for that purpose. Like we're gonna give you 4. None of them say Christmas.
And take
Cash me outside.
Right.
So. For Dwight, for the last part of Dwight's Corner, we still just have a couple of questions we need to get out the way.
Let's go for it.
Status update on early voting. Is there any stats released on voter turnout? Anything you can give us?
Yeah. Unfortunately, and I definitely want to encourage everybody to get out there and early vote. Right now, Republicans have about a 49,000 vote advantage over Democrats statewide between vote by mail and early vote. Democrats have been catching up, but I would say on a positive spin on that, there's been an overwhelming outpouring of independent and NPA voters, record-breaking actually in comparison to other years. And so right now, the 2018 election is actually outpacing the 2014 election. Let's put it this way. There have been more votes recorded now in 2018 than there were in 2014.
Okay, so I have
we're
a
not
question
even on election day, so.
Right.
that I just want to ask you. What if you had to put on a 100% range? How many of these Republicans that's saying they're going in the booths voting blue, do you actually believe? 0% being you don't believe that at all. 100% you believe every one of them are doing at least 85% of their votes blue.
Listen, I give him a good 37.
37%. We was talking about that earlier today, and I'm like, if I was a Republican with the fire that's going on, I am too coming out the booth saying, I've been a lifelong Republican, but I went blue. Like, I'm trying to save as much face as possible, but what you do.
What you really do in the booth
is your business. But it's funny you mention that, because I was talking with one of the folks who was working the polls today. And they said what has been happening is they went to a very Republican polling place. And that the Republican poll workers that were out there trying to pass out literature for all these Republican candidates, they were actively avoiding them. Like, don't come near me with that foolishness. I'm going inside to cast my vote. Now, how that cuts, in terms of, is that them saying, don't give it to me, I know what to do already?
Right. Or
is it like, I ain't fooling with the craziness? But I would say...
I think it's the latter, just honestly. I think it's the latter.
I heard a dude today saying, I'm breaking with my family. He's like, my family, my family are staunch Republicans, but he's like, I'm going blackety black all the way down. And this was a Cuban guy who told me this. Like, I'm voting for everything black on the ballot. I was like, well, how about that?
Wow.
Because he's just like, I don't like what's happening in D.C. right now.
So what do you feel really is at stake in this election, both locally and nationally?
Everything. everything from what we discussed earlier. When you're talking about somebody willing to play with the constitutional amendments, like our U.S. constitutional amendments, the way that they're talking about in D.C., that should give everybody all the reason to get out there. Because if you start tinkering with one, who's to say you can't tinker with the First Amendment? Or, and for all those gun owners out there, the Second Amendment. You know what I mean? Like, all those things are on pace to be messed with. And so people need to, do what they need to do. Get out to the polls, get out and vote. I know it's overwhelming. It's a long ballot. We went through what we talked about last week to try and ease some tensions, but it's like you got to get in there and do what you need to do.
And one thing, too, that I want you to definitely speak on is, because there's a lot of talk about if voting matters, right? And I know you hear the sort of politically correct response, but I want you to really give like an honest, like cutthroat, real, so it could forever be a broken conversation about the power of voting and why you should vote and why not voting is just like not what you should do.
So, the easiest form of protest, and I think I alluded to this last time, the easiest form of protest is voting, right? Like, you don't have to go to the marches, you don't have to do the chants, you don't have to do anything. The easiest form of protest is to go ahead and cast your ballot. But here's the thing. My vote's no good if you're not coming with me as a like-minded person, right? And so for the people who sit here and are like mad or upset watching TV, they feeling some type of way, they're like, and then somehow right after that are able to say, but my vote doesn't matter. It's like, I need you to do better. I need you to do better for real, because that's just it. If you're frustrated, if you're mad, and literally all you have to do is take 20 minutes to do something to at least move you, that should make you feel better, right? Like the same way people go have a drink at the end of the day after a tough day,
right,
or go on a run, or do whatever they do to deal with their frustration, is the same way you should approach voting. Like, if you're seeing something that irks you, go in the ballot booth and do it. Because what's the harm in doing it? You know what I'm saying? Because there's 1,000 things that are the harm in not doing it, right? And if you don't see the value of it right now, then I don't know what to tell you. It's like, why are you even registered? If you know what I'm saying? If you don't see the value of it in this moment right now with what is happening in America.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do a different one today for today's ignorance. I'm going to talk about money. Today's ignorance is going to have to go to Sears.
For not adopting the online platform like we said.
So Sears filed for bankruptcy protection earlier this month. Their filing showed that they are $5 billion in debt.
Oh.
So there were many, many mistakes over the last decade that Sears made. One of the best examples I can give to this is the purchasing of Kmart.
Or still selling Dickies.
So I don't understand how you expected your brand to get better by purchasing Kmart, but you made that move. Congratulations.
Right, that's a lateral purchase. They're like, y'all, our consumers are there too. Let's just buy that too.
So
first of all, that's like paying double price for Baltic Avenue in Monopoly. That's what you don't do.
So straight lateral
as
move.
they made Ford to do garbage, then they decided to sell Craftsman, which is probably one of the only brands that's worth anything.
Right.
And so they sold the brand last year. Prior to the sale, only 10% of Craftsman's products were sold outside of the stores and websites affiliated with Sears.
Wow.
So you sell probably the one thing that's making you money. The value of that deal was about $900 million because you know why? Sears was like a prostitute on the corner in the cold. They were shaking and they needed cash. So they let go of the one good thing they had. But we didn't learn about the fact that Sears spent $6 billion buying back all of its own stocks since 2005. So as we're driving the price down, we're buying it back up. FCC, wondering where you're at.
What do they think they are, the Wolf of Wall Street?
So just imagine this now. Imagine if that $6 billion had actually went back into building the brand of the company, possibly removing some of the people from office, taking some of the homeless people out of the stores that just seem to camp out in your stores and never buy anything, updating the stores, maybe moving your website off of the Web Explosion 2.0 and using these little things called shopping carts. But were the buybacks an attempt to actually build the value of your brand, or is this just the political play of people taking advantage of a system which I call the stock market? So we have all these struggling companies. We have GE, another iconic yet struggling company that spent $24 billion repurchasing shares. So if you're going to file bankruptcy but buy back shares, I'm going to need you not to file bankruptcy. I'm going to need you to actually have money. I don't know what the FCC is going to do about this. I don't know how you control the imaginary market of the stock market, but this is bad. And Sears, I just want you to know we still never got the extension for the ice maker for our refrigerator. Y'all simply told us we don't make that part no more. You'll be all right. And just refunded us the money. I just wanted ice. All I wanted was ice. I bought a new refrigerator because I wanted ice. The ice maker on the old refrigerator stopped working. I drink. Whiskey tastes better with ice. I just wanted ice. And y'all said no. Then I had to buy an ice maker that sits outside of the refrigerator that makes noise at night. Shut down. Because you didn't give me ice to ease my nights. File bankruptcy. Just go away. Nobody wants to be at Sears or Kmart. Y'all should have worked out a deal with Walmart when y'all saw them coming. Y'all should have left with JCPenney. Y'all should have left with Gafers if you ain't from the north. Y'all may not remember that.
Service merchandise.
Right.
For folks in Miami.
It's too late. So all I'm going to say is you try, you fail, walk away peacefully. Quit buying back all them shares because ain't nobody ever going to buy them back off of you. I know y'all probably thinking y'all going to sell y'all company. The only thing good left with Sears is at that end of the mall that nobody wants to go to is to turn them into micro apartments for all these people that can't afford rent. That's the best thing y'all can do.
Oh, wow. You're right.
Turn the malls into micro cities and let people live inside.
You might be
onto
onto something because I believe it's universal that at that end of the mall is where Rainbow is located.
Yes. That's the case with Southland Mall.
Well, that is definitely the case. Not only Rainbow, but Rainbow Kids.
Right.
Because they got 2 stores. Okay.
So, with that being said, we again want to thank Dwight for coming out, and we will be obnoxiously posting these on people. Reminder, Andrew Gillum is the people's candidate for governor.
Can I give a quick shout out to this Saturday? We're going to be marching with black women because black women will save us, as if you don't know.
Ooh, you better tell them.
Better tell them. Most definitely save us. So
Miami Carmel.
10 a.m., meet us at the Little Haiti Cultural Center. We're going to be marching to the polls at the Lemon City Library. So if you have not already early voted, come join the movement. We're accepting black women, allies of black women, people who just love black women, and that is people of all races, cultures, and creeds. So let's go ahead on and get this thing done.
And thanks to the information from Max that came out and let us know that the amount of money that has been going to black women in tech has increased this year. So shout out to the black women out there doing their thing.
That's right.
Thank you to Cosmology, the Knight Foundation, Digital Grass, Junction 2027, Timeline Brewery, and Culture Infused Creations. the new CIC.
Right.
There you go.
So, Dwight, thanks for coming out.
Yes.
Being a part of the Tech Beats and Bytes team, but I hope you guys enjoyed the show. All I can say is do not miss Thursday.
Right.
No matter how it goes, Thursday is going to be an
right
electric
here.
show. We're going to be all kind of stuff going to be on this table. Next week, it will be whiskey and tequila. We will not be doing craft beer next week. Either way, we celebrating on camera. No matter how it goes. We hope we win. We're going to make
Showing
this happen.
out.
It's going to be crazy Thursday. November the 8th is the show you do not want to miss.
Wakanda.
We might just that might just be the season finale next week.
Depending on what happens.
Depending
We
on
may
what
have a
happens, we might just go. But thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Tech Beats and Bytes. Peace.